Ryan Gosling's so hot, everybody. Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to Second Perspective. My name is Paul Weskin. Over there is Tara McLaughlin, and today we're going to be doing a QQ for you on The Place Beyond the Pines. It's a very interesting film. The one thing that we are going to be doing that's a little bit different. It's very hard to review this film without bringing up some minor spoilers about it. Just because they're so inherent in the story. So if you don't want like any spoilers at all, like these things that we want to bring up, they're probably not going to bother most people, but there's a select few that might. So if you trust us, it's a good film. Go see it, and that's all you need. Great. If you want to get a little more information and find out actually sort of what we think about the film, keep going with us. And with that, Torin, why don't you give us the quick synopsis of the film then?
Yeah, sure. So Ryan Gosling plays a motorcycle stunt rider who gets involved with a woman. There's a child. There are competing masculinities, and gets into trouble with the law. Don't want to say too much more than that. It's about fathers and sons in a big way, and losing that relationship, finding it again. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, directed and written by Derek Cianfrance, I think is the name, or Cianfrance, or whatever. It stars Ryan Gosling, Bradley Cooper, Eva Mendes, and Ray Liotta, and it's very well acted. Pretty heavy-hitting crew there.
Yeah.
And quite a few years ago, I was surprised that, well, I guess not. 3 years ago, Bradley Cooper looked so young. Anyway.
Yeah. And part of the big thing with this film, the thing that we're a little bit hesitant of bringing about is that its structure is definitely the most fascinating thing about it. And what it is that it's essentially three separate stories that are all connected. And what's really interesting is that when it progresses through the story, it changes its protagonist. And usually that doesn't work for most films. Usually it's a disaster, actually. But this mechanic works in this film for me anyways, because it uses it to directly address its themes in a very unique way. Also, another thing that worked for me personally is that I thought the writing from moment to moment was very organic, and so each story moment that was brought up felt earned. It didn't feel like the writer was putting it in there just because he wanted it to, and the characters were sort of just had to go into it. And so that I thought that was quite cool, because that's usually that's difficult, right? What about you, Torn?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. If I could write something like this, I'd be flabbergasted and very impressed with myself. I think on the whole, the structure works really well. One of the things that was really impressive for me was within this sort of three-part division, which actually seams together incredibly tightly. And part of what the film does really well is builds the theme through these separate lenses in a way that wraps them all together really integrally. But I thought each of the three pieces works incredibly well on its own, from the standpoint of like character dynamics, from the standpoint of pacing. Each of them has its own internal and integral like pacing and structure that's emotional, suspenseful, but different from one another. And I think they each pay attention to different aspects of character interaction and plot when they do that. So it was really, really well done that way for me.
Yeah. It's and I don't think it can be quite overstated just sort of how unique this structure is. And so we really enjoyed the film. That being said, there are definite potential turnoffs. This film's extremely ambitious. You can tell that by the very first shot that it does. And by that, it also becomes quite divisive with its creative choices. It goes to a very large scope script, and it also makes some very strong cinematic choices and cinematography choices. And so if you don't like the choices that they make right away, you're probably not going to like the film. Some of cinematic, it's just like it's
edgy.
Yeah, right. And the choices there, they are not like sort of like middling. It's very on one side of this sort of creative spectrum. Spectre. God, it's still stuck in my hair. Oh God, it's stuck in my brain.
See our previous reviews and discussions on the
right. So that's another thing. I know that Torn also had a little bit of one issue that he kind of had.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about getting a sense of the film from the beginning and knowing whether you're going to like it or not. I liked it throughout, but I thought the end may have been a little over-determined, and that's a weighted word that I'm using. It's like a lit studies word that I'm bringing into this. But I think because these stories depend so heavily on each other, and you get a strong sense of the themes within like the first half of the movie sort of thing. I thought the ending was a little flatter dramatically than the rest of the movie for me, and I think I enjoyed the first half of it more than I did the latter half. But you can't have one without the other, so it's a tough thing for me. I don't think it's necessarily a downfall of the film, but I found the first half very, very good. Anyway.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so. Just how good did you find it? What grade are you gonna give it, and do you recommend them watching this film?
Yeah, absolutely recommend watching this film. It's great. It just like gets you out of regular story structure, and it's really nice. Like if you watch movies a lot, or even if you don't, to have a refreshing tale told that way. You know, it is refreshing. I liked it. I was turned on the whole time. I think B plus. I don't know. I was at a B plus, but it's A range. It's definitely A range. So A, why not? A minus.
A minus. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I think that's actually a very good word for it. It's refreshing. It feels very different. The first 4 or 5 minutes, you're kind of like, okay, this seems sort of like a bit art housey. What is it gonna do? And then when you give it sort of 5-10 minutes, then you start to realize that it's actually doing some really interesting things. So yeah, refreshing is definitely the right word. I would absolutely recommend going to watch it. I'm gonna give it an A. I thoroughly enjoyed this film. There are a few small things that kind of stop it from being A plus for me. But yeah, I have no problems giving this an A. Other than
worth
that,
your time for sure. Go see this movie.
yeah.
Well,
Other than other than that, there is plenty to talk about in this film in terms of a discussions, and we're going to be focusing on the structure and sort of how it changes protagonists and why we think it works in this film and why we think it may not work in other films. So join us for that once you see this film. Other than that, my name is Paul Weston. Over there is Tom McLaughlin. Again, this is Second Perspective, and thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye.
I love you.